Peace was good. Welcome to another installment on my CD collection. This is part 5. Let's get the show started. Alright. Get the tunes them started. Alright. First song that I want to talk about is Esham's Closed Casket album, released in 1994, excuse me. Overall, very dope album. To me, his best album. Songs this album is known for, Mental Stress, which they have a video for on YouTube. You can never go wrong with this album. Esham, he's spitting that wicked shit, as he always says in his records and shit like that. Overall, I wish Esham could go back to that style, at least the style of production that he used to do back in the 90s, but, I guess people evolve and shit, just, I don't know, I'm not really feeling Esham's newer stuff, but I'm glad that he's still doing what he does, you know what I mean? And there's always going to be supporters of his shit, you know what I mean? But it's Esham Closed Casket, released in 1994. I believe this album was actually out of print, but if you could find it for cheap, which it shouldn't be that expensive, I definitely recommend checking the album out. Esham Closed Casket, 1994. Then we got Black Moon's compilation album, Diggin in the Vaults, released in 1996. Overall, very dope album. I definitely recommend checking this album out. For fans of Black Moon, the whole boot camp click sound, definitely recommend checking this album out. Interesting fact about this album. This album is actually out of print. It's so rare that it's not even on the Duck Down website, and there's a reason for that. The reason for that is because, excuse me, the record label Black Moon was under at the time, Nervous Records. Nervous Records wanted, Black Moon to put out a new album, but Black Moon was like, nah, we don't want to put an album with you guys and stuff like that. I guess they had like a falling out. Like they always like, how artists back in the 90s do, like how artists nowadays do and shit like that. So because of that, because out of spite, Nervous Records, without their permission, just put this album out just out of spite. So this album wasn't actually authorized by Black Moon, so this is actually a bootleg. So this album contains, the remixes of popular songs like How Many MCs, You the Man and stuff like that. Excuse me. It features remixes from certain songs from the Enter the Stage album. It has maybe one song from the Enter the Stage album, which is Shit Is Real, but it says new vocals by Buckshot. My only gripe with this album is it doesn't contain 2 songs, and those 2 songs are Reality, Killing Every Nigga, which was a very big song back in the day. I'm assuming it's because of sample clearances, because that's a Quincy Jones sample. If you, all my producers should know about that sample. They know about that sample. Niggas Talk Shit, the remix. Even though I prefer the original off the Enter the Stage album, but overall, I definitely recommend checking this album out. And this album was actually released right after Black Moon broke up and stuff like that. And they broke up for a couple years. And 3 years later, they put out the Warzone album that I showed previously in my other videos. But overall, I definitely recommend checking this album out. If you can find it for a decent price, pick it up. Definitely a must-have to complete the discography of Duck Down Records. All right. Next album, Nas It Was Written, released in 1996. Definitely a dope album. A lot of people that I know consider this his best album. Some people say Illmatic. I really like this album a lot. Very dope. Nas at one point, it's interesting with this album, he didn't want to make a radio. He didn't want to make he wanted to make another Illmatic. He wanted to make another more street album. But I guess Steve Stout was like, nah, you need to put out some more radio friendly songs. And because of that, this album is actually Nas's best-selling album to date. Known for songs like If I Rule the World, The Message, Street Dreams. Very dope songs, man. I really like this album a lot. Some of my favorite songs are "I Gave You Power," where he talks about a point of view of a gun, of a gun. Even though he's not the first MC to do that, it was Pharoah Monch on the song "Straight Bullet" off their the Organized Confusion's second album, "Stress," the Extinction Agenda album. Check that album out. It's a very dope album. I don't have that in my collection. I need to though. Take It in Blood. The Setup. To me, one of my favorite Havoc beats that he's done. Suspect, Live Nigga Rap. I mean, the list goes on in that album. My only gripe with this album is that it doesn't have the song Silent Murder, and there's a reason for that, because Silent Murder was only featured on the European version of this album, and I guess because it was a sample that they used that was from a R&B group. I think it was Soul to Soul. You know, the group that did Back to Reality, Back to Life. Well, that song he sampled, and I guess because of sample clearances, so I guess like it was only supposed to be on the European version or some shit like that. But check that song out. That's my shit. If that song was on this album, on the American version, I mean it would have been dope. But you know, it is what it is. Then we got Nas's first album, Illmatic, released in 1994. Not much to say about this album. A classic album. Straight New York shit. This is the epitome of New York hip hop, man. Classic New York hip hop. Just New York hip hop in general. Known for songs like New York State of Mind, Life's a Bitch, AZ's first appearance on Wax, The World Is Yours, which is my introduction to Nas when I first heard it back in the day. Halftime, Represent. I mean, the list goes on. This album you can listen to throughout the whole album, without skipping a track. That's how dope this album is. A lot of people consider this his best album. I agree. I like this album a lot, but also like It Was Written too, because It Was Written, in my opinion, doesn't really get the props that it deserves. I guess because of some of the filler tracks, but the filler tracks I could deal with. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh my god, like it's crazy whack, but overall very dope, very gritty, very dark. Not dog, not like grimy dog, but it's dog. You know what I mean? But overall very dope. I definitely recommend checking that album out. Definitely a must-have for all hip-hop heads. Definitely a classic. Then we got Big L's Lifestylez of the Poor and Dangerous, released in 1995. Very dope album. Songs this album is known for are Put It On, No Ends, No Skins. They have a video for that as well. What was the other song? MVP. They have a video for that too. To me, the standout tracks in my opinion are Danger Zone, which is like my favorite track. 8 Is Enough, All Black, Street Struck, self-titled, Lifestylez of the Poor and Dangerous. I Don't Understand It. That is a very dope track, because when you listen to the lyrics, the shit that he says is so relevant to today. Where he talks about, you know, whack niggas that, you know, that get put on and they sell the most money, but while dudes that's spitting on the mic, spitting blood and sweat and tears, don't get the respect, or they don't get the bread that they deserve. You know what I mean? And it's relevant. You know what I mean? So definitely recommend checking that song out. Check this album out. Very dope. Definitely his best album. My only gripe with this album, there were certain songs that should have been on the album. Songs like Clinic, I should have wore a rubber. You can find that shit on other compilation albums. You can find that shit on YouTube. Devil's Son, which should have been on that shit. But I guess because like Columbia Records, they didn't want Big L to. I guess like they didn't want him to be labeled as a horrorcore rapper. So him being on Columbia Records told him kind of like switch up the songs and stuff like that, or make new songs and things of that nature. But overall, pick this album out. Very dope. And another thing too, I've been seeing people on the internet say, they've been saying like shit like the beats are whack and like doesn't fit. The beats are perfect. They're gritty, they're dark, they're street. and it fits his style. So shut the fuck up for all those people that say all that shit. All right. Then we got Freeway's first album, Philadelphia Freeway, released in 2003. Definitely his best album. This album goes fucking in. For all my heads that, you know, to me, in my opinion, some of Just Blaze's, Kanye West's best beats are on this album. I mean, known for songs like What We Do, featuring Jay-Z and Beanie Sigel. That was a big song back in the day. Flip Side, which was like a big summer banger, especially in 2003. That song you would hear all the fucking time. That's how dope that song is. Yeah, man. Line 'em Up. I mean, you can't go wrong with this album. I know some of you guys might think, oh, Rockefeller. Nah, but this album goes in. What others? It had a single too. Alright, featuring Alan Anthony. Very dope song. I really like that song too. In fact, Alan Anthony was supposed to come out with an album, but it never came out. I don't know why. But overall, pick this shit up. Classic album in my opinion. Then we got Ice Cube's third album, The Predator, released in 1992. Overall, very dope album. A lot of people consider this his best album. I don't know. Yeah, I would have to say maybe this. For me, I don't know. I can't choose. I don't have a favorite. I mean, I do have a favorite. It's the first four. But out of those four, I don't know which one I could say is my favorite one. But known for songs like Wicked, Today Was a Good Day. It Was a Good Day. Check Yourself featuring Das Effects, the remix. Very dope album. This was definitely recorded around around the LA riots. So you could kind of like sense that vibe on this album. My favorite song off this album is We Had to Tear This Motherfucker Up. Very dope song. DJ Muggs, that beat is very fucking dope. For fans of Ice Cube, old Ice Cube, like Angry Ice Cube, I definitely recommend checking this album out. Ice Cube, The Predator, released in 1992. I know I'm gonna catch a lot of shit for this, but fuck it, I'm gonna show this album anyways. Then we got True. This is, I believe, the third album, True, released in 1995. This is Master P's old group, True, which stands for The Real Untouchables, released in 1995. I picked this album up because on the strength of that song, I'm About It, which was later remixed by Dipset, when Dipset, I think it was called Bout It if I'm not mistaken as well. And it features Master P as well. I believe Master P's on that song too. But overall, very dope. If you're expecting like Master P, like like you expecting that Master P, you're gonna be disappointed, because this Master P, he was like more on the West Coast tip. This is when he used to live in Richmond, California, in the Bay Area. You know what I mean? But overall, a very dope album. I like it. No, Master P is not the best MC in the world, but the beats are dope. It's listenable. He's not the best rapper in the world, but if you like old school West Coast hip hop, like G-Funk type shit, then you would definitely enjoy this album. True, The Real Untouchables, True, released in 1995. Go pick it up if you can find it. Alright. And we got this album, Gangstar, The Ownerz, released in 2003. The last album that they ever recorded together. Overall, this is a good album. It's not their best album, but it's a very good album. Songs this album is known for are what are the songs? Right Where You Stand featuring Jadakiss, Skills, which I believe Skills was the first single off the album. Nice Girl, Wrong Place, which was a single as well. My favorite songs off the album are Peace of Mind, Who Got Guns featuring Fat Joe and MOP, which I feel like should have been a single. Capture, Melissa Part 3, featuring Big Sugar and Freddie Fox. My opinion, Freddie Fox stole that fucking song. That should have been his song. That's how ill that song is. Riot Act, which was pretty dope. Overall, very dope album. After this album, they broke up, unfortunately, which is sad. And rest in peace, Guru. You're definitely missed. You're definitely one of my favorite MCs of all time. Your legacy will go on, brother, and the Gangstar Foundation will go on. The legacy will go on. All right, Gangstar The Ownerz. Pick that shit up. Then we got Non-Phixion. The Future Is Now, released in 2002. Very dope album. Non-Phixion. For those who don't know, Non-Phixion, they're a group, a Brooklyn-based group, a group from Brooklyn, which consisted of Ill Bill himself. Well, they were put on by MC Search, and it was MC Search at one point. Then it was Ill Bill. Then it was Sabak Red or Sabak, and Gore-Tex, and DJ Eclipse. Overall, very dope album. It definitely has like a political vibe to the album. Is like mixed with conspiracy theories and all that shit. I definitely recommend checking this album out. I'm pretty sad that they broke up. It's fucked up. I wish they could get back together, but unfortunately, they don't get along. They don't really get along. Well, at least Gore-Tex, I guess, left the group because of I guess they all had beef with each other and shit like that. Gore-Tex, he no longer goes by the name Gore-Tex. He goes by Gore Elohim. I'm friends with him on Facebook. Pretty cool guy, pretty funny. He be saying some shit. Ill Bill, very dope MC, very underrated. Ill Bill and Necro, hopefully you guys just squash that beef that you guys are going through. I don't know, man. You guys are brothers, man. Hopefully you guys could, like, you know, I don't know, get back together. Just like, I don't know, put all that bullshit aside, whatever. But pretty sad that they broke up. It's pretty sad. Sabak Red. Oh, by the way, I'm looking for that Ill Bill's first album, What's Wrong with Bill. Cause the album is actually out of print and it's hard to come by, and it goes for a pretty penny. But overall, very dope album. If you're a fan of Ill Bill, you fan of Necro, shit like that, definitely pick this album up if you can find it. Then we got Inspectah Deck's first album, Uncontrolled Substance, released in 1999. Very, very dope album. I feel like this album doesn't really get a lot of mention. A lot of people, you know, they always want to talk about, you know, Jizz's Liquid Swords and Return of the 36 Chambers and Enter the 36 Chambers and stuff, and Only Built for Cuban Links. But I feel like this album is actually up there with those albums, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Very dope. Interesting fact about this album. He was supposed to come out with an album back in 1995, but if you guys know, if you're a Wu-Tang fan, you guys would know about the infamous flood that happened to in RZA's basement where he had his studio. He had a flood in his basement, which fucked up all the equipment in the basement, and he had to redo all the songs over. So this album took at least 4 years, because I believe he started recording this album back in '95, but then it just throughout the years, I guess he was recording the album after album and shit like that, and then hence we got this album, Uncontrolled Substance. Known for songs like what's the songs he's known for? Word on the Streets, which I believe was a single. Show and Prove. Rec Room, which is one of my favorite tracks off the album. Definitely one of True Master's illest beats. Again, like I said, True Master, Hold Your Head Up. Definitely one of my favorite producers. Definitely influential. Inspectah Deck, Uncontrolled Substance. Pick this shit up. Very underrated. Alright. Then we got Deep Cover, the soundtrack, released in 1992. Very dope album. It has a nice variety of music. It has, like, you know, it has rock, it has like jazz, it has like R&B, it has West Coast hip hop, and it has reggae, or dancehall, I should say. It's known for songs like Deep Cover featuring Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg. Is what put Snoop Dogg in the map. What are the songs? Mr. Loverman with Shabba Ranks, which was like a big song back in the day. And those two songs were like the actual songs that, you know, that was like the most popular song that had the most hype. Overall, very dope. The movie is dope too. I recommend picking that movie up, and the soundtrack if you can find it. Definitely one of Lawrence Fishburne's best movies in my opinion, where he plays as like an undercover cop and shit like that. But you know, he goes real deep into it. Jeff Goldblum, he does his thing on that out in that movie. He's a very good actor, very slept on in my opinion. D Cover, the original soundtrack released in 1992. Pick it up if you can find it. Then we got Gravediggaz, 6 Feet Deep, released in 1994. My opinion, their best album. Again, just like I said about Closed Casket, this is definitely an iconic. This is an iconic hardcore album. Pick this shit up, man. I mean, RZA, Fuquan, Grim Reaper, rest in peace. Too Poetic out of Sonic, and Prince Paul right there. Known for songs like Nowhere to Run, Nowhere to Hide, 1-800-Suicide, Diary of a Madman, which they all have videos for. And I believe that's it. Killer Priest, you hear it on the first time. You hear it on the first time of this album. The song Diary of a Madman is the first time you hear him on that, as well as on Wax, I should say. You also hear him on Graveyard Chamber. I mean, this album is dark, man. This shit is fucking brutal, man. Very dope. Originally this song was actually called Nigga Mortis, but they had to change the name for obvious reasons. My only gripe with this album, it doesn't have a song called Pass the Shovel, which should have been on the fucking album. But I could see why they didn't put this song. I guess the beat is kind of a little bit more up-tempo, but just the subject matter should have been on this fucking song. And there's another song that should have been on this album as well. It was called Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. That song was actually featured on Prince Paul's he put out a compilation album a couple years back, where it's like unreleased songs that he did, back in the 90s and early 2000s. If you could find that album, pick it up. I don't have that, but that song Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, if you go on YouTube, you'll be able to find it. You'll see what I'm talking about. It definitely fits this album. It should have been on the album, I should say. But this is Gravediggaz, 6 Feet Deep, released in 1994. Definitely a must-have for every hip-hop head. Alright? Then we got Heltah Skeltah's first album, Nocturnal, released in 1996. Classic album. What more can I say? Songs this album was known for are Let the Brains Blow, which was I believe it was an underground single. What else? Therapy featuring Vinya Mojica. She's one of my favorite unsung heroes when it comes to like R&B singers from the 90s. Wish she put out an album, but I don't know, man. She was dope. What else? What's the other songs? Operation Lockdown, Let Fly, Skoshka. Those are songs this album was really known for. Definitely one of the best albums out of the whole Duck Down discography. Definitely a must-have. I already talked about Magnum Force. Magnum Force, like I said, is a dope album. It's definitely not as good as this album, but definitely check this album out. My opinion, if you ask my opinion, this to me is Sean Price in his prime, because Sean Price now, I like him now, but I don't know, man. It's just something about Sean Price right now I'm not really feeling. I don't know. I guess back then he had a lot more energy. It's just I guess like the beats that he's rapping over, but when he was known as Rock. But Rock to me, he's like my favorite out of the two. But Heltah Skeltah Nocturnal, released in 1996. Definitely pick this shit up. Alright. Then we got Naughty by Nature's second album, 1993, released in 1993. Very dope album. Songs this album is known for are Hip Hop Hooray. The Pete Rock remix, check that shit out. You'll thank me later for that. What other song was Written on Your Kitten, which was a big song back in the day. That was actually there's a remix with QD3. who's Quincy Jones's son, who's a producer, iconic West Coast producer, very dope. Yeah, I believe, yeah, and it's on. Oh my god, that song is bananas, very dope. Overall, definitely dope. Like I said before, the first three Naughty by Nature albums are my favorite albums. After that, I just kind of didn't really follow them like that. But I tell you one thing: if you go to a Naughty by Nature concert, you're doing yourself a favor because they fucking put in work. They still got it. They still got it, man. I definitely recommend checking them out live. There's 1993 by Naughty by Nature, released in '93. Pick it up. Then we got Jadakiss, Kiss the Game Goodbye, released in 2001. A classic album in my opinion. Very dope. When this album came out, this was like a big deal back then because definitely a dope summer album. Known for songs like Knock Yourself Out. What's the other song? We Gonna Make It. Put Your Hands Up. I mean, the whole album you could play without skipping a track. That's how dope it is. My opinion, this is Jadakiss in his prime. His best album in my opinion. His other albums like Kiss of Death and all those other the last Kiss Goodbye and all that shit. I'm not really feeling those albums, man. I don't know. This album is a lot more street. It has some filler tracks, but it's tolerable. It's not like, you know, the other albums that I mentioned. You know what I mean? You know, he just went real commercial. You went real commercial with the other albums. But overall, definitely a must-have to complete the Rough Riders discography. All right. Then, last album I'm gonna talk about is Mr. Smith, LL Cool J, released in 1995. Definitely one of his best albums. To me, this is LL Cool J in his prime. My opinion, the last good album that he put out. The other albums were okay, but I don't know. I'm biased to the 90s, as you can see. Like I said, like I feel like Mama Said Knock You Out, 14 Shots to the Dome, and this album are his best albums on this album. I believe this album is actually his biggest selling album, if I'm not mistaken. It's known for songs like Hey Lover featuring Boyz II Men. Damn, I miss them. They're pretty dope R&B group. Doing It, which was big back in the day, still is now. I Shot You remix featuring Fat Joe, Prodigy of Mobb Deep, Keith Murray. Who else? Yeah, Keith Murray, Prodigy, Fat Joe, Foxy Brown. I mean, the list goes on. This is a very good album. The self-titled album, Mr. Smith, that shit is pretty dope. Interesting fact, there's an album called on the internet. I think it's a bootleg. It's a bootleg. I guess like it was the album that Mr. Smith was supposed to be. It's called LL Cool J's Double Down, which you could tell was made around like 90 or like around this era, like 94, 95, because there were certain songs that were supposed to be on this album but didn't make it. I guess because, you know, some of the beats were, I guess, like a little bit too street for Def Jam, and you know how Def Jam was back in the day. But overall, definitely pick this album up. Definitely one of his best albums. Mr. Smith, LL Cool J, released in 1995. Pick it up. And that's it. Stay tuned for part 6. Peace.